What is up, guys? As you can hear, I've started to lose my voice, so it's been a little bit since we've done a video, especially the standard one, because we kind of got sucked into doing some other projects. Modern Magic Mondays started back up, so if you guys have not checked that out, head over there, check out all the VODs, because the third week is up on YouTube. The fourth week, of course, will be up on Monday. We do the live coverage for it, so it'll be up later that week. Sorry, guys. So with the team event coming up this weekend for Baltimore, which Team Modern Magic Mondays will be attending, I figured it would be a great time to talk about kind of the Pro Tour winning deck / the deck that we're going to be piloting for the team event. It's the deck that I, fell in love with after seeing it pop up at Star City events. Then was like, man, this list is awesome. I loved playing green-black last standard with the Winding Constrictor and doing things like that. So I figured, hey, why not play the Sulati energy? That seems like a good way to do it. The 4-color energy, and we'll talk about teamer energy and those sort of stuff in a bit in future videos. Today it's all about Sulati energy. So we're going to sit here and we'll break it down a little bit. I've got two decks to talk about. Of course, we have to talk about Seth Manfield's because, hey, he just won the Pro Tour with this list. So it makes sense to go off of his list to start it off as we discuss the Sultai energy in Standard. So we can break it down into kind of three categories. We'll pop it up here for you guys to be able to see the list and understand what we're talking about. So, bam, Sultai energy. Alright, so of course we have to start with our Winding Constrictor, right? So Winding Constrictor, Walking Ballista, they're buddy-buddy. They go hand in hand. We cannot kind of go one place without the other for Standard right now, right? Because in case you are not familiar with Standard right now, in case you're not familiar with what Winding Constrictor does, I'll do a quick breakdown. If one or more counters will be placed on an artifact, a creature, also it's the same for you, that gets an additional counter. So if you're going to be getting Walking Ballista and you're going to cast it for 1, right? You're just going to say, I'm going to pay 2 mana to get Walking Ballista as 1/1. Well, if you have Winding Constrictor, now it's a 2/2. So you get an extra counter off of it. Same thing includes towards if you would get one or more counters, you get that many counters plus 1. So, hey, that energy that you would be getting off of that Aether Hub, off of that Attune with Aether, guess what? Now you get an additional energy. So it works out really nicely. So we had to have them go hand in hand. Also, Walking Ballista could become a win condition in this deck. You could be able to cast it later on and be able to shoot somebody down and kill them off if you've been able to get them low. Next, we're going to talk about our kind of 2-drops, kind of the next step. Hey, I don't have a Winding Constrictor. I should have one of these two in my hand to be able to play on turn 2. And that's our Siphoner. All right, slide over a little bit. Long Tusk Cub and Glint Sleeve Siphoner. Big fan of these two. I was running Siphoner in the previous Standard, and once seeing it in this Standard, it's been doing great. Like I talked about with Winding Constrictor, getting additional energy helps out both Cub and our Siphoner here. So Siphoner we're going to talk about first because, hey, Siphoner is great. We want to be able to get card advantage off of, and the Menace is pretty relevant too. Being able to swing in and say, hey, here's a guaranteed 2 damage this turn. Whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you get an energy. Does not have to deal damage, so it's a little bit different than Cub. You do just say, okay, declare attacks. Here's Siphoner coming in. Trigger, I'll get an energy. Oh, Winding Constrictor is here. I'll get 2 energy instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay 2 energy. If you do, draw a card, lose a life. So, think kind of like Dark Confidant, getting card advantage each turn. Don't have to worry about taking 5 damage or 4 damage off of Dark Confidant. You can sit here and go, well, I'm just going to guarantee take 1. I'm fine with that. That seems good. We'll go with that. Take 1 damage. And then Cub. Cub is our another, like, oh, this could just win us the game, right? Just like Walking Ballista. Cub, it starts out as a 2/2 for 2. But whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you put 2 energy on, which is really nice. You can pay 2 energy and put a +1 counter on. So energy that you've built up at any point, you could say, all right, activate, pay 2 energy, put a +1 counter. Let's say they're gonna try to do some blocks against it. You can say, well, before damage, I'll put some counters on it and make sure he survives. Do things like that. So I really like the Cub in there. And again, Cub can get huge because you can sit here and go, all right, here's my Siphoner. They're going to kill it off. I've got a bunch of energy off it. I got a bunch of energy from a tune. I've got energy from my Aether Hub. And now I'm not really doing anything with this energy. Well, here's a Cub that I just top deck. Now he's a 7/7. I've got all this energy. I'll just dump into him. No problem. So that's a kind of great additional turn 2 kind of thing that you'd like to do if you don't have a Winding Constrictor. Then we've got kind of our mid next stage, enable the deck a little bit more. So let's get rid of our 2 guys here. So Rishkar, Pima Renegade, and Rogue Refiner. Again, Rogue Refiner, you need to slide over. So these guys are really a great turn 3 follow-up. Hey, I've played my Cub, right? I've opted for my Siphoner. Well, now I'm just going to make them better. I'm going to play one of my Rishkars here, put a +1 counter on both those, and they can tap for mana then, or they just get stronger, right? So Siphoner, hey, a 3/2 for Menace is pretty good. With Winding Constrictor, I'd get additional counters. I can also use these counters towards Walking Ballista to make him a little bit stronger, right? So I can say, hey, that Walking Ballista, oh, he came in as a 2/2. Well, now he's a 3/3, so I can shoot for an extra damage there, which is nice. Rogue Refiner, get some energy. Sweet. That goes really nicely with our Cub. Goes really nicely with our Siphoner here. Basically says, I can draw a card with Siphoner with this. I can give my Long Tusk Cub a +1 counter just from playing this Rogue Refiner. Also, because that 2 energy is not enough by itself, but you get to draw a card. And again, that card advantage is key for this. So a 3/2 for 3, draw a card, get 2 energy. Yes. Every time, yes, I will do that. Seems great. So we are seeing this Rogue Refiner as kind of that follow-up turn 3 sort of fill-in here. Now we've got our top ends, right? This is kind of the big payout. This is kind of our way to help us win, right? And we've got Hostage Taker and Scarab God. Pretty much if you are in blue-black, if you can make blue-black in your deck, you should be playing Scarab God. And that's why the energy list, we've seen people go 4-color energy, not just Teamer, to be able to fit Scarab God because it is that good. It's expensive, and I do not, recommend you just like dropping all that money to just play the Scarab God if you don't have it. But if you want to be playing a powerful deck, you might need to invest into it. Hostage Taker, on the other hand, is a really sweet card. Something that did get printed in our Ixalan, right? So costs 4 mana for a 2/3, and you're like, well, the stats aren't that great. I have to pay 4 mana for a 2/3. But what it does makes up for it. Enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until Hostage Taker leaves the battlefield. You can cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. You can spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. So hey, you're facing down a Scarab God? Well, let's just exile that, right? That's going to be my Scarab God. Oh, you're facing down a God Pharaoh's Gift? Let's just get rid of your artifact. You know what? You don't need that. You don't need any way to reanimate your stuff. No, we don't need to do that. So it's a great kind of turn the tide, so to speak, fun deck style to play with the Hostage Taker. You can also take other people's Hostage Takers and do those sort of shenanigans and silly stuff. Versus Ramanop Red, if you're playing against, Hazoret or their god, you can be like, hey, listen up. You're done attacking with this. I'm just going to exile that and get that out of the way. So that is a nice way to play with that. Scarab God, of course, if you're not familiar with, you basically get to reanimate stuff, right? Beginning of upkeep, each opponent loses X life and scries X, where X is the number of zombies you control. You pay 4 mana, exile a card from a graveyard. Yours or your opponent, doesn't matter. You get a copy of that, and it's a 4/4 zombie. Pretty sweet, right? So you can sit there, untap, I'm going to pay 4 mana before the upkeep, make a zombie. So now I'm at least get a scry, deal damage to you, that sort of thing. And if by chance Scarab God dies, you get to return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Just saying, hey, you kill that, I'm not worried. He's coming back. You're going to have to exile that. So let's talk a little bit about the spells. All right, so we've got removal spells, Fatal Push. Hey, we're running black. Let's run a playset. Seems good against Ramanop Red, stuff like that. Awesome. We've also got 2 of Vraska's Content, which for my list, I was originally running 1, but I have since upped it to 2. Exile target creature or planeswalker, you gain 2 life. So for 4 mana, exile that god. Right? Exile that planeswalker. I'm cool with that. That's really it's basically saying Scarab God, go away. Hazarat, go away. That sort of thing. Then we've got our protection. Blossoming Defense. The only list in Standard that's running Blossoming Defense. Pretty much. Like you might see it every now and again in like a Team or Energy list and things like that, or a 4-color, but really for the most part, it's a Sulati staple. Nobody's really prepared for it either. It works out phenomenally well against like a red deck, for example, that's got all that shocks and lightning helixes, or not lightning helix, now I'm thinking modern again, lightning strikes and things like that, that you can be like, well, I'll protect my guy and he's bigger, so I can trade off and kill off one of your guys. So also a great way to protect your hostage taker. So if you say, it's rare that you're going to cast Hostage Taker on turn 4, because most likely he will just die from that. Your opponents will be able to kill it off. But casting at turn 5, you can say, alright, I'll pay the 4, cast my Hostage Taker, and leave 1 green up that I can protect him with. Right? Seems good. Then our Attune of the Aether. Basically our mana fixing. Get some energy off it. Get to find a basic. Seems pretty awesome, right? Search through our libraries, thin it out, all those sort of good stuff. Land base, 4 forests, 1 island, 2 swamp, 4 Aether Hub, 4 Blooming Marsh, 4 Botanical Sanctum, and 2 Fetid Pools. Cycle, also for blue or black. Just overall good stuff. Sideboard here, our Death Gourd Scavenger costs 3 for a 3/2. When he enters, attacks, exile target card from a graveyard. If it's a creature card, gain 2 life. Non-creature card, guess what? Put a +1 counter on him until the end. Or sorry, he gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Not a counter, even though if he would, it would probably be able to put him in main board with the interactions with Constrictor, but that's all right. Appetite for the Unnatural, basically anti-artifact, anti-enchantment, gain some life off it, pretty nice. Nice thing about Sultai is you do get access to some counter magic. 1 essence counter and 2 negates are in here. Seems good. We've also got 3 duress in this list. I have a playset in my sideboard. That hand disruption is really good against those control-based decks. If you end up running against that blue-black, if you end up facing against blue-white, duress does amazing. An extra Scarab God in here because, hey, Scarab God is sweet. Being able to bring it in certain matchups, it really is an all-star. So Die Young is a new addition, which I've thought about running. I might actually add it in for this weekend. Choose target creature, you get 2 energy, then you can pay any amount of energy. That creature gets -1/-1 till the end of turn for each energy you paid. So this is basically our way to kill off more creatures, right? There's of course the red version that you just pay the energy, deal damage, and all that stuff. But this giving -1/-1 counters is sorcery speed, but there are times where you're sitting there with a lot of energy and you don't have your payout cards to do anything with that energy, right? You don't have your Siphoner, you don't have your Cub. So let's kill some stuff off. And then our Nissa, Steward of Elements. That's a really cool addition, right? Costs essentially 3 at least, maybe 4, depending on how you do it. X and a blue and a green. For +2, you get a scry. And of course, the X is how much loyalty Nissa's going to start with. So again, you want to at least do as much as you can. The 0 ability, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card or a creature card with a converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa, you may put that onto the battlefield, which is nice. And then, of course, -6, untap up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elemental creatures with flying and haste until end of turn. They're still lands. So Nissa is a nice little addition. We're running Vraska in ours. I personally like Vraska a lot, but I could see the benefits of Nissa as well. So, definitely a really cool list. So let's talk about another list real quick. This one did get 6th place at the Classic recently, so we did figure discuss it. The numbers are a little bit different. Of course, Siphoner, Cub, Rogue Refiner, Winding Constrictor, yep. Rishkar's in here, Walking Ballista is in here. The difference, we've got 2 Scarab Gods instead of the 1/1, and then we've decided no Hostage Taker. We want a playset of Blistering Hydra. Now, the Hydra is great if you're going to be facing a lot of the Ramen Up Reds, because this guy basically just gets out of range for their removal spells, and he gets to be too big for them to kind of swing through. All right, and the hexproof is really relevant when they're saying, "Oh, that creature can't block. Oh, sorry, you cannot target that. He's still gonna block. Sorry." So that's a nice way to pay out your energy and be able to put some good use to your energy. It's shaved down on Fatal Push for our spells, but added an extra Vraska's Contempt, which is nice. Vraska's Contempt is a great card. Attune to the Aether, of course, you got to place that, and then 1 single claim is in here. Turn target creature card with a converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's saying, hey, I can get back Winding Constrictor, I can get back my Cub, right? I can get back. Those are my targets. Like, that's everything else is going to be 3 or more. So let's get back a Cub, be able to kill somebody with a Cub, or if you have energy for your Aether Hub, you can give target creature +2/+0 and haste until the end of turn, so you can do something like that. This list is a little bit more aggressive with the way it's set up and not as controlly, but that's also by not having Hostage Taker. We've got, of course, our Scrap Heap Grounger in there, 3/2 for 2, can't block. Just another, like, hey, I can go aggressive. If I need to get lower to the ground and just swarm you, I can do that. Deathgorger is great. We need to run those. And then again, what we were talking about is aggressive. Cartouche of Ambition in here. Enters the battlefield, you put a -1 counter on target creature, and then enchanted creatures get +1/+1 and lifelink. So kind of a nice little keep yourself in the game. Vraska Relic Seeker is kind of where I'm at for top end of my sideboard. I really like it. We've got, of course, 4 Negates, 2 Supreme Wills in here, kind of an extra counter spell. Also, you can look at top 4 and put something in your hand off it, depending on how you want to do it. So I like these additions for the counter spells. And then our Confiscation Coup. So we've seen this in some energy lists before, like the Teamer lists and things like that. This is kind of saying, hey, I don't need a Hostage Taker. This becomes my Hostage Taker, right? I don't have to worry about you killing it off. 2 mana. He's got 2 on his board for 5 mana. You can choose target artifact or creature. You get 4 energy. Then you can pay any amount of energy equal to that permanent's converted mana cost. If you do, you gain control of it. So basically works the same way as Hostage Taker, but you do have to just pay energy. And getting 4 energy off it means you pretty much can take almost everything. Assuming you have 1 more energy, right? You've done your Attune with Aether. You have an Aether Hub that you played. You can sit there and say, well, now I've got 5 energy, I'm going to take your Scarab God. So there are definitely some ways to be able to steal stuff with this list. And this is basically, you got to decide, do you want to be more controlly in the main board? Do you want to be more aggressive? You can do either. Does not matter. Whatever you're interested in doing, you have that option available to you. So I did want to showcase this list because this is, a fun one going into the team event, and something that you guys should consider playing, but don't get too much practice against it, because we want to win. Also, I've got Malcolm, my cone cat, with me. He just had surgery, so he's in need of some love. But yeah, that's, the list is really powerful. It does quite well. Against control, it does lose game 1 most of the time. It's kind of supposed to. Then it can board into the negates, the duresses, the things like that that just make it better. So game 2 is definitely a better position for this list to be in against control. Sometimes Ramen Up Red just runs it over. It is dependent upon the draw sometimes for that, but you do have access to some other cards in the board that you can bring in. You can bring in some more creatures. You can bring in that Essence Scatter, like Die Young if you're doing it like Seth Manfield's list, Cartouche of Ambition if you're doing it like Tyler Hill's list. Like there's ways to kind of help deal with this and those sort of lists that are running around. So definitely a powerful list, definitely something I have enjoyed playing with, and something that I would recommend that all of you guys at least sleeve up at one point and test it out and see what you think of it. But again, if you guys like these videos, please hit the follow, subscribe. There are going to be some more videos like this coming up. We are going to do more standard breakdown. We're also going to be continuing through modern. Again, we're going to be at the team event this weekend, so I'll be bringing my camera and we're going to record up some footage of it and some breakdowns and talking about how things are going. So thanks so much for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next game.